Welcome back to the Major League Gaming 2009 PC Circuit played on HP. I'm Keith Trahan, joined by Jared VL Coulston. We're live in Anaheim and progressing through the very end of our round robin portion of this tournament. Coming up next, we do have Czech 6 versus EG. Of course, Czech 6 undefeated so far in this tournament, and EG sitting at a 3-3 record, meaning this match alone could determine if they are able to make it into the top 4.
Yes, and this EG team actually talking to Azael last night after the tournament, he seemed pretty confident about it, saying that on live they do decently against these guys. So, hey, if this is a time to prove that they're better, would be right now.
And actually, these players are already inside of the arena. Looks like we're going to be playing on Ruins of Lordaeron for Game 1.
Have a little name changes. We'll have to see, probably because they've swapped over to Alliance.
As every team pretty much has done against this team of Czech 6, as there's no use for Will of Forsaken, and a lot of people feel they can take more advantage of the Alliance side racials.
All right, so they are running their normal setups. Of course, we have the Beast Rush setup of Czech 6 top left. You have Toes up top playing the Paladin, Twix on BM Hunter, and Flex on Enhancement Shaman. Top right, you do have the new Shaman Tenderloin, who's been doing an amazing job this tournament, followed by Azael on Warlock and Smatten on Rogue.
All right, gates have opened. Game 1. Tenderloin coming out the gate. Of course, both teams wanting to take advantage of that middle pillar, but in comes Czech 6, already getting things started, and you see the damage going on to Azael, immediately going down to 10,000 HP. He does have Earth Shield, and now actually Tenderloin will get his Hex off, and you see there's already been a bop used onto Flex, so it looks like that this RLS is able to put up with this damage output so far.
Tenderloin has already had to Trinket, though, and we'll have to see if they don't swap, if it'll be on to him. Smatten's actually is taking damage now. Going to be the target. Wow, dropping down to 20% right in that split second. Aim shot up on him. Hex is on Tenderloin right now, but Smatten's still living somehow.
And now, actually, Twix dismantled. Aim shot does fall off, so full heal's going to go through from Tenderloin. And now you do see that Twix is taking a little bit of damage, trying to kite around away from Smattens, but we don't have him finally there. He puts down a trap so he can kite. And now we're going to see if they're going to swap back to Azael. And really, it's all about Flex getting on a target, and he's sitting right on top of him, putting out a lot of damage. But still, Tenderloin doing a great job of keeping him topped off.
Toes right now doing a great job. Has already had the bubble though. Flex in a kidney shot right now in Ghost form, taking some damage. Down to half, getting low. Toes is going to have to pick him up.
And all they need is a little bit of CC on Toes, and you see a full line of dots on the Flex. They just need to interrupt a little bit of healing. Flex so low, 3,000 HP. There's the Drained Soul. Azael low as well, though, 4,000 inside that Intimidate. Azael 3,700. Flex 100 HP. Down goes Flex.
All right, right there. Flex just ranged Toes for that last flash. And you hear Azael in the background yelling and screaming. Taking a little cue from the Koreans right there, but I mean that was pretty rough.
Polite though. Something tells me they don't yell quite the same.
Yeah,
things.
Toes was he was spamming those flash heals, and it was actually doing a decent job of keeping him up, even though how much damage he had. But you saw that he had to move forward. We had Toes on the screen trying to heal him. He had to move forward for 1 point to cancel one flash, move forward, heal again, and then the last flash that was going to land was ranged.
So big thing to look at, Azael, even while being the person focused mostly throughout that game, 125,000 damage. So Azael really the one to shine there, being targeted and still able to put out enough damage. It was very close at the end though. I mean, Azael down to less than 3,000 HP and Flex at the same time. But Tenderloin, again, really shining here as a new Shaman for EG.
Yeah, he handled the beginning of that round, which is what very much matters. He handled it very well.
All right, both of these teams should be going into the arena again shortly. Well, we'll see exactly what happens with Czech 6, but it just looked like their momentum never really got rolling, and that's pretty much what EG's strat was, is stall that early momentum, get damage rolling, and it really worked out for them. And this is huge for EG at this point.
It is. I guess Azael was right. He knows how to beat him.
All right, Game 2 is going up. It's going to be played on Blades Edge Arena. And honestly, not the map that Czech 6 wants at all, because it's going to give Azael that opportunity to kite pets around as he jumps off the bridge and portals back up. That entire time, they're going to have to be chasing after him.
Okay, on your screen right now, you do see that's Team EG on the right, Azale bottom right with those gunner glasses on, and across from him is Flex for team of Check 6.
Now, I'm curious to see if Check 6 is going to take the aggressive route, go up their side of the ramp, and try to just establish onto Azale before he can even get his portal down and get into a decent position. But even still, though, Azale only has to use that half second to put it down and then jump off the bridge and pull the fight down there. And anytime he gets low, you can expect him to go back up top.
Now, what do you think about if Azale ends up dropping down? Will Tenderloin be a possible target?
Well, see, that's the whole thing. Whenever, if Tenderloin wants to stay in LOS of healing him, whenever he's down bottom, he has to stay on the edge of that bridge, meaning Tenderloin will be up top. But again, if they go on Tenderloin, Tenderloin has that option to jump down and start picking himself up as well, which will peel all the pets off him and really mitigate a lot of damage.
All right, we're going to follow Twix out of the gate to see if he can connect onto his target with Flex right away. Doors are going to be opening any second in the second round of this Check 6 versus EG matchup, and this is a very important match for EG.
And also, the only team to come close to really stopping them has been Button Bashers, and before that, SKEU doing a pretty good job as well. But here the game goes, and already Flex starting things out, and he's actually starting on Tenderloin, so a little bit of a different target choice, and now he's going to swap back over to Smattens, and we see that early blind, and it is going to be bopped off immediately, and it looks like they're going to start putting damage out onto Twix. They swapped over to Azale, who is down bottom, and you see that Drain Life, and he is going to portal back up. Now Flex trying to swap over to Smattens, and wow, drops him down below 10,000 HP. You do see he has to cloak and vanish almost immediately in those just basically two globals, dropping him down into a dangerous situation.
Tenderloin has swapped his Earth Shield over to Smatten since he was taking a lot of damage. Aim shot onto Smatten right now, but no damage really coming out. Tenderloin looking great on mana right now, sitting at about half. Smatten's still coming up and down in life, going from 50% up to full over and over.
And now it looks like they're still just going to sit on this rogue and try to keep the pressure rolling. And actually Flex put into a Hex, and it looks like he's not going to have anything for it, having he sit through that. But still not much damage coming out from this RLS. And it looks like they're trying to get over to Twix, but Twix doing a great job of kiting. And now we see an opener onto Flex. Cheap shot into Kidney. He does have dots up from Azale. Shamanistic Rage has been used. Toast does have to bubble in this situation.
Flex is getting kind of low on mana. Even though he did have Shamanistic Rage up, he was stunned through the entire thing. We have a Hex coming out, but I don't believe it landed on anyone. Smatten's down to half, taking a lot of damage right now. That aim shot is on him. Frost Shock also taking a ton of damage. Tenderloin trying as much as he can. Great shock at the end by Flex.
And Twix at the end there, the second Bestial Wrath comes up. He has to even swap over to Vipers. He's out of no mana, and just in those couple seconds he's able to swap out. It's so much damage onto Smattens, and I do believe both evasions had been burned through at that point, basically meaning all that damage was going to connect, and it's just too much for the rogue of EG.
Azale playing it all the way out, but Toes was almost out of mana right at that end.
And it's still going, actually. Toes, oh, there we go. Divine Plead does come up, giving Toes a little bit more mana to work with, and Tenderloin actually at this point as well. And now you see Azale positioned up at the top of that bridge, going to drain life. He's not giving up. Flex Shamanistic Rage, and he does have those dots ticking, but Azale quickly dropping low, down to under 4,000 HP, and Tenderloin caught an HOJ to a Hex, and that's going to do it. Check 6 is going to clean it up and win this round, bringing it back to 1-1.
Even on this map, where Team EG would have a slight advantage, you look at the last map, they played it very, very well. This time, looked like things were going towards in favor of Team EG for a little while, but once they got onto Flex, they had him stunned during that, during the Shamanistic Rage, and right after that, things just fell apart.
And on your screen right now, you do see SKEU, and on the other side, that's Button Bashers that are just trying to set some things up. But coming up after this match, we will have BHMS versus SKEU playing Shadow Cleave, which is going to be slow and steady and some pretty long games, but we'll make it through them. And really, for both teams, BHMS and SKEU, it's do or die at that point.
It really is, and there's a lot of rounds coming up for these teams, because the only two teams that we basically have locked in, so to say, for the top couple spots is basically Check 6 and Button Bashers. All the teams below that, the next four in line basically, SK Europe, Team EG, Complexity, BHMS, and possibly Fnatic, I do believe, have a shot of making into that, depending on who wins and loses.
And, of course, after the second and fourth games, the teams do have the opportunity to stand up, talk things through, change comms, anything at all they want to go through. So we'll give these guys a few minutes to talk things over, and we'll turn it over to the gotfrag.com on the Ask the Cast thread, which is under WoW general discussion. And and going down to 1488 from Beef Clown, he's asking, do you think Chains of Ice should be so spammable since seeing the effect of it on rogues?
And spammable snares are always so funny. I mean, you look at the difference between Hamstring and Chains of Ice. I mean, Hamstring was, that was a huge deal to rogues to begin with. Like, right from the beginning, everyone knew that all you had to do was spam Hamstring on a rogue, you're fine, right? Not only is it Hamstring, but you can do it all the way across the map.
But honestly, though, it's pros and cons that come with it. A lot of these matchups, especially when you're watching it RLS versus these DKs, spamming Chains of Ice is because they have no Dispeller. And we've actually seen in some of these matches they do try to devour a few of those key Chains of Ice to get the rogue to their target. But, I mean, it does go back and forth. But honestly, while a DK is spamming Chains of Ice and Jump, of course, at the same time because it does make it snare more, they're spamming Death Coils and not really doing their most efficient damage they can. So, honestly, it has its pros and cons. I don't think it's quite to the point of being absolutely ridiculous, though.
Yeah, there are times that DKs can switch it up and go completely defensive for their team, especially if they're going to be training, your healer, for example. And if they really need to keep that rogue off, Chains of Ice is great for that.
And moving down to 1490, the Italian asks, why is no one playing Destro in these RLS comps? They play it on live.
You guys actually missed. I heard it was a very exciting series between Fnatic and Team EG. Of course, Team EG winning it 3-1, and then it ended up, I do believe it ended 3-2, though.
Yes, it did. Fnatic was able to come back.
They
and
were
win
all
that
playing
game.
Destro, and Azael said every round was very close.
And once again, thank you to everyone that's participating in the thread. We do appreciate your comments, criticism, and feedback as we continue on. And now, moving down to 1495, will MLG ever have tournaments where players can pick their own race?
It all depends on the server setup, of course. Like we said before, this is slightly different from from like the Blizzard's arena tournament realms. They have a full set of level 80s on the account. But, some players will complain a little bit about racials here and there, but we'll have to see with the next couple tournaments.
And again, this game completely changing always. An MMO as an esport will always evolve, and that's one of the things you have to respect from these top teams at these tournaments. Not only, if they want to stay on top, not only do you have to practice before one event, but each and every event, you have to be able to adapt to where the game goes.
So here's a great question coming out, and Hunter questions are obviously for you. How crucial is it for a BM Hunter to have a Core Hound as opposed to a Worm?
And actually, Twix is a great example to follow. Look at the matchups that he plays and what pet he goes with. I mean, you'll see they want to go on a plate target, and actually his gear setup changes as well. And they'll pull out a Worm, which actually has that armor debuff, and as well as he'll run Grim Toll and a bunch of different things. And look at his crits in those games against a plate target. I mean, you'll see steady shots for over 5,000 against certain targets. And, I mean, really, this is stuff that they've practiced and figured out. So, really, in these tournaments, when you know exactly what you're going to play against, well, actually, what team you're going to play against, not necessarily they'll run the same comp always, but you kind of can come into it with a little bit of knowledge and be able to react to that, which is something that Check 6 is great about doing.
We have a question about the tournament format. What do we think about playing out all 5 games? I really enjoy it because, even though we do have times when a team will 3-0 another team and they've been close, we still get to check those next 2 matches, and sometimes those are the most exciting.
And a lot of Europeans asking about Incity and, of course, Hydra being on that team. Why are they not at this tournament? And we actually had an interview with Ryan Moore where we talk about that a little bit. They were invited, but unfortunately they were unable to make it. But so far, their replacements, SKEU, have been doing a great job.
A little question about hardware right there. Everything has to obviously be double-checked with the tournament director. But you bring your own mice and keyboards from home.
And 1525 Wolfie's asking, do you think their players had access to the gear available on live? Would that affect the tournament's outcome? Slightly. Of course, if this was live gear being used, which actually one of the popular tournaments you can follow over there in Korea, the Nameless tournament, or the name tournament, excuse me, they do some interesting things where the players actually are using their live setups, and also they do 3v3s and 1v3s weaved in between in their series, and it's very interesting to watch, and it's completely different. I mean, you can look back to when the name was running during the same time as some of the MLG events, and the games and the comps that were being ran were completely different, the pace, the style, and strategy.
Yeah, it's, I mean, even in the last expansion when we were watching the named, you know, every rogue had glaives. You know, these characters had, like, the best gear possible.
And actually a pretty good question from 1528 Palm Top. He's saying, with the Beast Cleave comp running wild at Anaheim, do you expect to see anyone start trying to create a hard counter for that comp?
Well, we found the hard counter. Button bashers.
Well, they came pretty close, but right now, EG actually looking to be the team that stops them in their tracks. After 2 games played, tied up at 1-1. Game 3 will be played on Ruins of Lordaeron.
All right, so the big deal for Team EG is just to do what they did in that first round. You know, they need to stop the damage when they when they need it to be stopped. But of course, Tenderloin doing a great job on that first round. I mean, he was standing basically out in the middle of nowhere, healing the entire time. And this Beast Rush setup of Check 6, you know, once they connect on their target, it's you see the occasional Hex and Shock coming onto Tenderloin here and there, but he's been doing a great job of managing it.
And now, one of the big things is I imagine Smattens is going to be a little more timid in these games because, honestly, Check 6 had it out for him almost that entire game in the previous match, which Check 6 did win. I mean, once he goes past, you know, both of his evasions, he's in a lot of trouble. You know, kind of rolling the dice, though, but if aim shot does miss through evasion, that's huge. Full heals coming in from Tenderloin and could really affect the outcome of the game.
Now, I wonder if Smattens was watching Hiren play and saw those early saps and how great they were. But, you know, he's going to sprint out and, you know, has heroism up even while in stealth. There we go. Now he's going to stick to his first target, which is going to be Twix. We have a stun onto Tenderloin, really early one, aim shot onto Azael, taking a ton of damage. Earth Shield is up on him.
And now you see Flex kind of running around the sarcophagus. Finally, it looks like Smattens is going to try to get over to him, but Azael still staying above 10,000, finally dipping below as Flex makes it over, and Shamanistic Rage is up. Azael still taking a lot of damage. There's Aura Mastery used by Toes as he is put into a fear. Azael dropping very low, and in came a big Howl of Terror, but it looks like they're just going to sit on Azael at this point. 7,000 HP dropping very low. Tenderloin trying to keep up with the damage.
Twix is able to disengage away from Smatten and keep Azael into line of sight. Azael having to Feldom right there, but I don't see his pet there.
He actually pulled out a Void Walker in this situation as he knew the damage was too much. There's a sack onto Flex as he is stuck inside that kidney shot with a full row of dots. A fear on the Twix will break that, and now it looks like Check 6 is going to try to make it to that second set of Hex and Beast of Wrath, but Flex taking a lot of damage. A little interrupt on Toes, and it's going to be over for Flex, under 4,000 HP, and down goes Flex, and EG will score another kill. And it looks like this round's going to go to EG, bringing it up to 2-1.
Toes now has a bubble up. I wonder if he had bubbled a little earlier, had it made a difference. But
now look, though, actually a freezing trap on Tenderloin, leaving Twix on Azael, dropping to 9,000, but he does have Earth Shield and is keeping him up. And he, yeah, that freezing trap's not going to last long enough for Twix to be able to put him down.
Great attempt by Twix, though, to keep the game going, trying to score a kill. Tenderloin at 3,000 mana, so he's going to probably have enough to keep Azael up through the single DPS of Check 6 right now.
And honestly, that is the first time we've seen a Warlock versus Check 6 with all of this damage actually pull out a Void Walker.
Yeah, it's a... Azael lived the longest out of any Warlock target they won on. By far.
So EG up 2-1 over Check 6 in a dominant position, and so far this is the only team that's been this close and ahead in the score so far. We did have it tied up 2-2 against Button Bashers, but EG can seal the deal in the fourth game and not even have to worry about that fifth game.
So 2-1, what is going through Check 6's head?
And really, it's Flex that has to be getting frustrated. He's never able to really establish onto a target for very long. And even whenever he was able to, Azael's portal was up, which he just shot completely on the other side of the sarcophagus. And it takes too long for Twix did a great job disengaging back and still staying on Azael almost that entire time. But Flex has to run all that way over and try to get back to Azael.
And one of the things that's different from Azael from any other Warlock we've seen so far against this team is he's using Drain Life actually a lot on his target.
So maybe these little things Azael has learned from playing against Check 6 on live is really showing in this matchup. And honestly, he's staying up very well against this team. Usually when Flex and Twix get on a target, it's almost instantly there's an NS, there's a block, there has to be something or they're dead. And Azael, you can kind of say that he is tanking this team.
Yeah, he definitely is. And Tenderloin doing a great job tossing out those heals. Possibly could have been Toes with that late bubble a little bit, but man, Flex took a ton of damage.
Yeah, I honestly don't think either way Toes was going to keep up with it at that point. So game 4 between EG and the undefeated team of Check 6 so far. And EG's actually looking to change that. They can do it right here. It's going to be on Dalaran Arena. And this could also be a great map for EG as well because they can use that bottom level. Expect Azael to take full usage of that portal and just kite pets off down that bottom level, and he can portal back up and immediately go back to channeling.
All right, gates are about to open. We are going to follow Toes out of the gate, see how he handles all this damage onto Flex, which we can only assume is going to be the target yet again out of the gates. Here comes Check 6 looking to get that opener.
And now Smatton's already going to hit sprint, and it looks like he's going to actually go on to Twix. So a little bit of a different opener already. There's a dismantle immediately following. There's an HOJ followed by a Hex on the Tenderloin. He will trinket both of those. And now look at Smatton's dropping down to 6,000 HP. No MS up as he does have evasion, and he's getting full heals from Tenderloin. Now it's up to Check 6 to continue this momentum, though, as Smatton's is stuck inside that frost trap and getting kited around by Twix. Twix is going to disengage down to the bottom level, and it looks like they're going to continue the fight down there. And now Smatton's deciding to swap over to Flex, who has a full line of dots up from Azael.
And Azael just spamming that Drain Life onto his target, which is Flex, is keeping him up. We have a blind onto Twix. He's now out of it. Toes is feared. Flex taking a lot of damage right now. Azael did port up, and he's right next to Tenderloin.
And now you see a fear on a Twix, and Azael in a great position. There's a shock to interrupt a little bit of the cast that's coming out from Azael. And damage once again on the Smattons, but nothing scary at all coming out from Check 6 yet.
Yeah, this is not the same team. It doesn't look like the same team as when they played Button Bashers. So Toes down to about half health from dots right now. We do have a Hex onto Twix. Big shock onto Toes' Holy Tree. Smatton's vanishing, trying to get the opener onto Toes, which he is. Toes choosing to bubble right there to stop it. Twix with a lot of dots up on him right now.
And now Smattons is running out of evasions. There's the aim shot. Now things get dangerous. And we see an HOJ on a Tenderloin down below 2,000, and they score the kill on Smattons. And again, it looks like Check 6 trying to drag it past the Smattons, the rogue of EG's cooldowns. And when they know the damage is going to be consistent, it's just way too much for Tenderloin to keep up with.
We had Azael on our screen right towards the end, a little bit after, right after Smattons died, and he hit a big howl. Flex couldn't get out of it. Had that howl been there split second earlier, Smattons could have lived through that. But unfortunately, isn't how it turned out. So it is going to be tied up right now.
Well, actually, they're going to play this out. If you look over Toes, very little mana. Divine Plea is up. But again, Azael and Tenderloin going to carry it out to the end because anything can happen. And now Twix actually manning up. And look, as Twix is trying to LOS UAs, as Azael's just trying to get any damage off he can. And Tenderloin still with a little bit of mana, but they're just going to try to hide behind that box and drag it out a little bit. But I think once this damage gets going for Check 6 again onto Azael, it's going to be too much.
They're going to split right now. Twix is going to be on Azael and Flex on Tenderloin, and that's a great idea. It's going to be hard for a Resto Shaman to keep up with damage on two targets.
And now Azael dropping down to 6,000, getting very low with just the damage Twix is doing. And look at Tenderloins, can't even keep up with the damage that Flex is doing. He has to NS himself. So Azael kind of left out for dry. He will life tap and drop down below 4,000 HP. And now you see a Halotero on the Toes. You're going to trinket that immediately. And again, Flex just trying to get over. It looks like he's just going to go ahead and kill the pet of Azael. So actually Azael and Tenderloin able to drag this out very far.
Unfortunately, Tenderloin is going to be out of mana right here. He has those snakes on him plus a couple pets with a Hex. Azael down to half. Lands the Fear, though, onto Flex, and Death Coils. No idea where the Death Coil went. But Azael is really low on life, down bottom by himself. Tenderloin helping out a bit with a trying to heal him, but you know, at that point in the game,
do at that point
when you're completely out of mana, not good.
All right, so it looks like Czech 6 tying it up at 2-2, and another one of those stressful situations that we saw them in their last series against Button Bashers. It will come down to the 5th and final game, and of course Team EG still vying for one of those top 4 spots, so their tournament career may come down to this game.
All right, so this is the 4th game, after the 4th game rather, so they have a little bit of time to discuss and figure out what went right, what went wrong. But these teams, I mean, they're not standing up, leaving to talk about the games. I mean, they know what went right and wrong.
EG staying in their seats. We did see them stand up previously, and they had that comfortable lead of 2-1, but in just like that, it will be tied back up at 2-2. And of course, you always have the chances of getting Ring of Valor against Czech 6, and this team formerly known as EMG. That was one of the toughest spots for a lot of teams, and I think it may be the same situation here. But fortunately for the opponents of Czech 6 so far, haven't been seeing that much of it.
So we've seen 2 Ruins of Lordaeron so far, so that's thrown out. We have a Blade's Edge, and we have a Nagrand. And here we go. 5th round is going to be on Nagrand Arena.
We actually haven't seen that much Ring of Valor at all with these GIB teams. We've seen it in a few when RMP's playing and things like that, but so far,
I know last tournament, though, we saw Ring of Valor like half the
Ring
time.
Ring of EMG, wasn't it?
Yep.
But they told us after that tournament, when we kept saying that they actually don't prefer Ring of Valor the most. It's Ruins of Lordaeron that they like as their map.
Which is what they lost on. So here we go. Now we have the 5th round of this very exciting matchup coming down 2-2. And, I mean, Azael is keeping himself up better than any Warlock we've seen against them.
Yeah, pretty much every cloth class minus Orange Marmalade that's come up against Czech 6 has been pretty much insta-dead.
Just gets melted by the amount of damage coming out from Flex, the pets, and Twix.
Now looking at both of these teams, it doesn't look like really anything is going to change, even gear or anything along those lines. So it's really going to come down to what kind of strats both of these teams pull out in the 5th and final game, and the stress is on for EG. If they want to make it to top 4, it all comes down to this moment right here.
All right, so we're going to follow Flex this time because he is normally right on top of his target every time he can, of course. He has been having some problems sticking to the target in this matchup.
So gates have opened, Spirit Wolves are out, Bloodlust soon to follow the call of Czech 6, and they're going to go on to Azael in the very beginning of this game, dropping him down below 13,000 HP very quickly, and we do see that HOJ early on to Tenderloin. Now a bop onto the blind to get Flex back into this game, and it looks like they're just sticking on to Azael. He does have his Shadow Line interrupt and go straight to Searing Pain, so Azael doing a great job once again of staying up.
Flex is hexed right now and is going to drink it out of that, I do believe, and trying to stick to his target. He doesn't have anyone targeted right now. There we go. Shamanistic Rage used onto Azael. Azael did use the Death Coil onto Flex just a second ago. Azael with another big howl right there, sending Flex away, and Flex having no way to get out. However, that Tremor did break it.
And now you see it, he makes it back over to Azael, but still not that spiky damage that we're used to seeing. And now it looks like there's a little bit of a swap over to Smattens. He spikes down to 12,000 HP very quickly. And look at Azael just trying to control Flex in those key moments, allowing Tenderloin to keep up with this damage.
And Tenderloin is keeping up with the damage, and that's pretty amazing against his team. Of course, we do have Twix in the center of the arena, and he's going to be shooting Azael, who has an Earth Shield up, but Twix, oh wow, doing a great job of positioning himself with that disengage to exactly where he wants to be.
Now, one thing to note as well, Toad's getting very low on mana. Tenderloin 6,000 mana. Toad's having to bubble in this situation, but Bestial Wrath is up again. This is where it does get scary for teams playing against Czech 6, but Flex caught into a kidney shot, not able to help out Twix during those cooldowns.
Twix is hexed right now, and it's not too good looking good for Czech 6 right now. I mean, Twix is not full life. Toad's completely out of mana. Tenderloin doing a great job, up to 5,000 mana.
And now what to look for is if once Smatten's invasion goes down, and there it is, no evasion up for Smatten's, and both Twix and Flex onto a target. Spikes below 10,000 HP, and you see him already use his HP clickies. He knows what is coming. Now Toes down to 3,000 mana, as well as Tenderloin. So both teams running on E at this point. Not a lot to work with. Now Smatten's will kite back to the other side, but both Flex and Twix still on him. Drops below 10k, in comes a 7k heal. So Tenderloin still doing a great job of keeping up.
Twix is feared, followed by Toes being feared, and oh wow, Zale bouncing fears all around, knowing that his team is taking a lot of damage. That kidney shot onto Flex, fades, looking for his target, which is Smatten's, down to half-life already. Tenderloin's down to 2,000 mana. Smatten's taking a ton of damage in that intimidation, and he dies.
Can't dodge while stunned, bro. And that's pretty much it. Once again, Check 6 drags it out past Smatten's evasions and just establishes on him. And honestly, after a small period of time, it's too much damage for Tenderloins to keep up with. Now again, Tenderloins and Azale gonna play this through. 3,000 HP for Azale, trying to get away in Portal, but sorry, not gonna happen. Tenderloins drinking. And that'll do it. Check 6 wins against EG. 3-2. Check 6 continues on through this tournament, remaining undefeated.
Lots of damage in that matchup. Smatten's doing almost 100,000 damage. Azale with those dots everywhere, 170,000 damage. And of course, Twix almost breaking 200,000 in that match.
So after all 7 of Check 6's games played, they are 7-0. About the most confident you can be going into the double elimination portion of this tournament. Of course, we still have more round-robin games to play, which will determine who will be our top 4. Coming up next, we do have BHMS versus SKEU, followed by Fnatic versus Button Bashers. But first, a small break here live from Anaheim for the Major League Gaming 2009 PC Circuit played on HP.